What's up, YouTube?
Another day, another Twitter dumb moments thing. Not really, but Twitter is not the best place. But before we do start, please consider subscribing. It would really help me out. I want to say it's before the actual video starts because at the end it's very annoying. But it would really help me out, and follow my socials, and yeah. So what I really want to talk about is Twitter. Even though most people use it, it's not a good app per se. It is good for news and good for stuff like that. But the people using Twitter are very how do I say this? Violent? There's no real good way to put it because there are multiple groups of people who just make Twitter what it is. Not good. But in reality, it's not bad because you get to listen to what people say and stuff, and it's really not that bad. But there are those groups of people like the K-pop stands, Dream stands, stuff like that really kind of ruin it a bit. Dream stands are literally one of the most toxic things next to the K-pop stands, which are very toxic because they're very passionate, heavy air quotes, about the people that they admire. But it's to the point where they get crazy with it. It really gets to the point where you're like, are they fine? Are they okay? Because they really take it to a different level. Not in a good way either. They are very attacktive, and there's a lot of them. There's also the people who support Black Lives Matter but don't actually do anything about it, which is it's cool, I guess, if you want to support them, but but at the same time they're not really doing anything but posting on Twitter. And then there's the idiots, which is more than half the population of Twitter. But you know, it's at one point I feel like it's gonna get to the point where no one's gonna go on Twitter except for those stands. Like, I think Carl from Mr. Beast, now that he started doing stuff on his own, I think now he has stands, which isn't gonna end up well. But we use stands as like a negative term when it really didn't start off that way. It was just a term used to be like a super fan, but now it's more of like a, you're pretty dang creepy. But I feel like if we really pull back and start, like, if stands just stop like attacking everyone that doesn't agree with them, then I feel like stan would still mean what it did back when stands were first a thing. But you always find that the people who are stans, like the bad kind, are usually people who say they're stands. People who don't say they're stands as well, obviously, but most of the people who say they're stands are the worst kind. Like, you can be a super fan of someone and not be creepy or attackive and just attack anyone that disagrees with them. Like, it's very simple just to keep to yourself, you know? Most of us do it. I barely do anything on Twitter. I just look for stuff. But Twitter's just an insane place where reasonable people don't want to be. That's what I feel kind of ruined Twitter, per se, because it's just been a hellhole for the past, like, year because of 2020 and stuff like that. And people basically have nothing to do, so they just turn to being toxic and stuff. I was gonna make it back when it was relevant. It still kind of is. I was gonna make a video about the Carson allegations, but the people at Twitter don't want to hear facts, and you can barely find the actual facts anymore because of all the infestation of people accusing and stuff without knowing facts at all. So I decided against it, and I'm still not gonna do anything about it. Maybe I'll do something when it's like all over and there's nothing controversial left, but it's a crazy situation because people on Twitter really don't look for facts. They just go with what they think is right, I guess. you could say. It's more of a, like, they hunt without reinforcement. They attack someone without anything to back it up, and it's crazy because of that. They really don't have much evidence to prove anything or disprove anything, but they just go at it for some reason. It's like when people got mad at Karens, or people who acted like Karens. I really don't have any idea why they were called Karens. Maybe it's just a name that pisses people off, because it sure does to me. But to be honest, when Karens were a thing, they were doing the same thing. Literally, they were attacking people for no reason, and that's exactly what people on Twitter do. And Twitter stands, like, of different people, like K-pop and Dream stands. It is gone to the point where we could classify Twitter stands and just people on Twitter who attack people and Karens in the same, like, group, because that's how far they've gone. And the stands, people who are stand usually are, like, the best people. They're pretty good with controversy. They don't try and get into any, and they're generally nice people. Like Dream, he's a pretty nice guy, but he was put into controversy because the stands and people who hated him really wanted to fight, I guess. It really is the best people who get the worst stands. I don't listen to K-pop. I don't catch up on any K-pop, so I don't know the people who do K-pops, like K-pop people. But I'd assume they're really nice people. I mean, you've always got to assume the best of people, and I don't think they'd be bad people. But, like, I hope Carl, because Carl being, I don't want to say as young as he is, but he is pretty, compared to other YouTubers, he's pretty young. I really wish that his, like, following doesn't go toxic, because he's a pretty wholesome guy. And to have toxic fans is just, it's just not good for someone's mental health and stuff like that. Speaking of people from Mr. Beast, Jimmy or Mr. Beast, I haven't seen too much people attacking him or really standing him to the point where it's bad, because he's generally a nice person. There's nothing really inherently bad with Jimmy. At one point they were making, like, claims that he was, like, I think racist or just, like, a bad person, but he's really not. There's no real evidence to prove it, and it's just really messed up that people would try and do that. But anyways, that's pretty much it for today. I hope you did enjoy the video, and goodbye.